Ever find yourself staring at the ceiling, counting down the days until a surgery or some kind of important medical procedure?
It happens to the best of us.
Right. You're not alone.
Definitely not.
But while we're waiting, there's like this whole other world ticking away, behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's run by these often unsung heroes of healthcare efficiency, and those are waiting list coordinators. They're the ones who are like making sure those wait times are as short as humanly possible. And today, we are diving deep into their world.
A world that's far more intricate and demanding than I think most people realize.
I think so too, yeah.
But the impact they have on both patients and the healthcare system, huge.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, let's start with the basics. What exactly does a waiting list coordinator do all day?
At the most basic level, they're making sure things run smoothly.
Okay.
That means managing the waiting lists, which
Yeah.
we'll get into. But you're talking about scheduling surgeries, figuring out the operating rooms, and coordinating with a whole team of healthcare professionals.
Hmm.
Oh, and keeping a close eye on resources. It's a lot, but
Mm.
it's so much more than just, managing a list, right?
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm so curious about. The sources that you sent, they paint like a much more dynamic picture than I imagined.
We can imagine.
It's like 1 minute they're calming down an anxious patient, and then the next they're handling the schedule of busy surgeon. And then in between all of that, they're making sure that the operating rooms are like totally good to go.
It's a fast-paced environment, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
It's like they're like orchestrating a high-stakes ballet or something, but instead of to-dos, we're talking, scalpels and those surgical gown.
That's a great way to put it. And we can't forget the impact, right?
Mm.
The source material highlights this clear link between a skilled coordinator and, well, everything. Reduced patient anxiety, shorter wait times, even, and this is big, improves surgical outcomes.
That is a pretty big deal.
It really is.
And it makes you realize that it's not just about logistics. There's a huge human element to it as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of the human element, we should talk about the kind of person who thrives in this role. Because it takes a unique blend of skills and personality traits to excel as a waiting list coordinator.
When I think waiting list coordinator, I picture someone like super organized, really good on the phone,
Right.
like a whiz with spreadsheets.
Oh, for sure.
But the stuff you shared makes it seem like it's a lot more than that.
It really is. You're right about the organization, communication, those are key. But there are some surprising things on that list, too. Things you might not expect.
Like what? Give me the inside scoop here.
Okay, so RoleCatcher, they say persuasion and negotiation are super important.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because, well, remember, they're not just handling, like, a list. It's people, right?
That's true.
Each with their own needs, their anxieties, all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So say a waiting list coordinator needs to maybe persuade a surgeon to fit in an urgent case,
Mm.
or maybe they have to work with a patient to find a new surgery date because, life happens. It takes real people skills.
Wow. So they're kind of like the diplomats of the surgical world or something.
That's a good way to put it.
Making sure everyone feels heard, smoothing things over, finding those compromises.
Exactly. And then on top of that, they need empathy, like real emotional intelligence.
Oh, right, right.
Because think about it, they're often the first person a patient talks to.
Yeah.
And those patients, they're anxious, maybe scared, frustrated with the whole waiting process.
It's a tough spot to be in.
Totally.
Mm.
And so being able to really get that and respond in a way that makes them feel heard and reassured, that's huge.
That makes sense. It's like they're carrying the weight of all that anxiety on top of everything else, keeping the whole system going.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough, even on good days.
It can be.
Yeah.
And that actually brings us to some of the harder parts of this job. Because, yeah, it can be really rewarding, but it's not without its downsides.
Yeah. The sources were pretty honest about that. The cons list,
Right.
high stress, long hours, the possibility of burnout. Seems like you need to be pretty tough to handle all of that every day.
You really do. Resilience is key. But I think one of the biggest challenges they talked about was the limited opportunities to move up.
I can see that.
Like, it seems like this weird thing where you get all this amazing experience, you become an expert, but the traditional career path, it's like there's not many places to go from there.
That's a good point. I mean, you'd figure with everything they do, with how much healthcare needs people, that there'd be more room to grow, right?
You would. And honestly, healthcare is still kind of figuring out how to best utilize people in this role.
Mm.
However, there are some cool alternative paths popping up. Some waiting list coordinators, they're using what they know to get more senior positions,
Oh, okay.
like becoming an operations manager or even a healthcare administrator.
So it's less about moving up and more about moving out.
Right.
Finding those new ways to contribute, using their skills in different ways within healthcare.
Exactly. And healthcare is changing so fast. Who knows what kinds of opportunities are out there for people who are good at this job?
Okay, so we've talked about the skills, the challenges, even some career stuff, but I'm curious about the tech side of things. With all the changes happening in healthcare, how is technology impacting what waiting list coordinators do? I mean, it makes you wonder, with like AI and all that, could we just have a computer program, be a waiting list coordinator?
That's a good question. A lot of people are wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, AI can probably handle some of the tasks, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine scheduling algorithms, sending out reminders, even maybe like the first patient check-in.
Right.
But some things, those need that human element.
You're talking about like the empathy and the emotional intelligence. When someone just needs like a real person to talk to.
Exactly. A computer can't do that.
Yeah.
Those interactions, that's where a good waiting list coordinator really makes a difference.
Yeah.
They can tell when something's up,
Oh,
see when
yeah.
someone's anxious, even if they don't say it, and they can change how they talk to someone based on what that person needs. It's it's almost like an art.
An art that helps people deal with, well, being on a waiting list, which is already kind of a stressful thing.
Oh, totally. And I think as technology keeps changing, it's going to be interesting. We'll probably see this partnership forming
Oh, interesting.
between like human skills and the AI stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So the AI will be doing the data stuff, the logistics, all that. But the human side, that'll be focused on talking to patients, making sure they feel heard,
Yeah.
making that waiting time a little bit better.
So the future of healthcare efficiency is like high tech and high touch. Both are important.
I think so. If you want the best results, you need both. The technology for accuracy and then the human connection. Because, well, you can't replace that.
That's a great point to end on, actually. We spent all this time talking about waiting list coordinators, a job that honestly most people don't think twice about.
Right?
But they're out there making a real difference for patients. So yeah, next time you're waiting for a procedure, think about those coordinators working behind the scenes, trying to make your wait a little shorter, a little less stressful.